Our director tells me we can now cross over to and speak to Dann Mwangi. And yes, as indicated earlier, activist Okiya Omtata was denied access to the Communications Authority's headquarters. And this happened right after the person he had sent, the court process server he had sent in the morning, was arrested and his phone switched off for 2 hours, prompting Okiya Omtata himself to go to the CA headquarters. Dann Mwangi and our camera person have been there. What's been going on, Dan?
Was going to serve his notice, rather to serve his papers to the CA. He told us that what happened in the morning, in terms of chronologically, he had the orders being delivered to all the different parties in this case, where he wants where the court ordered that the government switch back on the 3 stations that are off, and so he had his people from the court who went to the different ministries, that's the ministers, because he also had the ICT and the interior CSAs being part of the case. Then the other person, who's actually not the person with the key to the switch, so to speak, being the Communications Authority. And so he's caught, the person who he had sent here got here at about 7:30 a.m. according to what Okiya Omtata told us, rather not here but to the Communications Authority headquarters, and he was let in. He was taken to the legal officer's office, when now they, according to Okiya, when they got to read the papers, they saw what the issue was and what the case was about, and he told the gentleman to give him a bit of time to just go and confirm, to go and consult. So when he went, he was later on, according to what we've been told, is that the gentleman was detained. They took his phone, switched it off, detained him in a room at the CA at around 8 a.m. thereabouts, and it was about 2 hours of that kind of a situation. So he was out of reach. He could not be reached on phone. Then at about 10 a.m. they were releasing him, and they gave him his phone, and he put it on. He called Okiya, who then decided to come and serve himself, saying that because the petitioner, he has the capacity to actually come and deliver the orders himself. So he said to do that. So he's been outside CA. When he got to CA headquarters, he came by taxi, he told us. He was denied entry. So the main entrance was not being used by anyone. Actually, even for the staff and other guests who have been invited, who may have been going to the CA, were using a side gate which is further down Wayaki Way towards the direction of Nairobi School. And so the main gate where we were not too long ago was not being used by anyone who was coming in. Anyone who was trying to drive in was being directed to the other gate. So we're there with Okiya Omtata and a few other media representatives who spoke to him, and he explained to us what happened. And at a point he said there's only so much he can do. So what he's going to do, because they'll not allow him in, he's going to stick the order on the glass which is at the reception, not reception really, but at the gate where the guards are, because he says that there's police officers who are plainclothes police officers who went and who are the ones who told him he cannot go in. They denied him entry, so they did not harass him at that point. They just left him out of the gate. But eventually now, because he wanted to stick the notice, he called someone to bring for him a roll of sellotape, so he could be able to stick it up, because he didn't have any other kind of adhesive with him. So about 15 or so minutes ago, the car that had the sellotape came, and when they noticed that, because they were closely monitoring him from inside, one gentleman who we believed to be a plainclothes police officer was allowed out of the main gate, very calmly walking by. And when Okiya was through with his people, the people who had brought him the sellotape, and we were, we already set up our camera to try and get the footage of the same. The gentleman came and tried to telling us to turn the camera away. He was actually now holding it to make sure we don't get his face, trying to, he was getting a bit agitated at us, telling us to leave and we should not film that side. So he was actually trying to sort of create a diversion, so that when Okiya is trying to put up the notice, there's another gentleman who was there as well, who was now to stop him from doing it, because the point was to avoid having the sticking up of the notice on camera, because they didn't want that to be seen from what we picked up. So we tried to just tell them it's okay, we are leaving. We tried to just still, stand our ground. But then afterwards, another gentleman who was also plainclothes from across the road crossed over and came very harshly speaking to us, telling us to go or things will become bad for us. So we decided to play it safe, and we got into our vehicle and we left. And so we left Okiya Omtata still there at the entrance of the Communications Authority headquarters. which is on Wayaki Way. And now we shall be looking to speak to him later on to tell us what transpired after that, because it seems what they were trying to do was to avoid that the court order being pasted or being taped onto that glass. And so we wait to see whether he has actually gotten to do it or not, or whether what happened after we left. And so that's basically a roundup of what has happened this morning within the past, call it 30 to 45 minutes, Mark.
Aggressive, and as you've said, they're being agitated towards the media, trying to capture this particular process. He mentioned as well trying to serve the ICT and Interior Ministers. You mentioned the court process service being sent there as well. What kind of welcome have they received, if you've heard any on this?
Sorry, Mark, I don't think I got you right.
What has been the luck in terms of serving the ICT and the Interior Ministers with the same order?
Well, Okiya said that he's not gotten any reports of anything negative in terms of any kind of negative reception from the court representatives, the ones who he had sent to dispatch the letters to the ICT and the Interior Ministry ministers. So as far as he's concerned, at least as far as he told us, he doesn't have any report of there being any kind of agitation on that end. However, on this end is where there has been an issue. There was the morning drama, beginning with, like I said, with the detaining of the gentleman who had come to deliver it, the court process officer, and now again with this point where he wanted to stick up the order. We saw what happened. So this is the point where we feel that, rather where we has been observed in light of what we have seen and what Okiya has told us, that there has been some kind of an issue in regards to receiving the orders, because what would happen is that they would need the orders to be served to them, that they can effect them. That is ideally what should happen. And so, there's been conversation. Is it that they're trying to avoid saying that they were served with the order so they could not act on something that they've not received, because they would possibly argue that they cannot act on something they've seen on the media platforms. So that pretty much is it. We see this is the side that has had a bit of an issue, but not so much the other sides as far as we know.
Mwangi and our colleagues there keep safe, and I'll let you carry on in following up on the progress he has in serving the CA, the ICT and Interior Ministries with the order to put back on air the 3 TV stations that were shut down on Tuesday by the government. And on the same